I'm here with Harnam ji.
Hi.
Yes, and we're meeting up again because our conversation went so great that it even inspired a song for you.
It did. It did. It was that bit we were talking about. I don't remember what brought up the subject, but we got to a place where I might have said "die before you die" is part of yoga. It's a yogic concept. It's kind of a maxim, if you will, or a mantra for yogis because it's death and rebirth, the cycle of life. And, a lot of spiritual traditions talk about the death of the ego um, along the way. And we were talking about that. And
Yeah.
then when we got done, I guess I was going back and listening to what we had said, maybe looking for some little clips to pull and put online. And that struck me. I was like, wait a minute. And I think what it was too is how you responded to it. You were like really excited when I said that, and you had a lot to say on it. And I thought, your enthusiasm struck me as like, that's a song lyric.
Ah,
That's what
yeah.
happened. I pinged on the fact that you pinged. It pinged for you when we talked about it. I said, okay. And I saw how it resonated with you. And I said, okay, so there's something about that is resonant for you. And I think that it would be and then
Yeah.
aesthetically, I'm like, die before you die. Okay, that's a line from a song. And
Yeah.
it just hadn't been written yet. So at some point after that, I said okay, and I picked up the guitar, and then the song that I'm about to release came out, and it didn't take much work, and it wasn't a fancy thing. It
Mhm,
was it was just a little bit,
mhm.
it's a little ditty.
Where will I before we die? Live before we go. Tune into your heart to find the soul.
Because I have been meditating and thinking a lot about death, and even recently, I have made a video about Joseph Campbell talking about death rituals and death and love rituals, how they're similar. It's like fascinating stuff. I even have this little guy here,
Oh, okay, okay.
like a celebration of that. Um, so yeah, and but what does it mean for you, right? What does the song mean for you to say, die before we die?
Well, that's just the jumping off point, because then the counter line was live before we go. We die before we die. We live before we go. Tune into the heart, find the soul. We're all out here wandering this great red road where we'll die before we die and live before we go. And
Mm.
especially now in this pressurized time when there's so much conversation around death, for so many reasons. Like the world's been at war, as long as I've been alive, and that war translates to this sort of individual battle of consciousness that humans go between the ego and the spirit, the ephemeral and the eternal, and playing off of each other is the practice. The yoga we go deep into these spaces of consciousness. You were just talking about rebirthing, right? Re, well, if you're being reborn, you had to die first, and that's referring to the death of the ego, that ephemeral part of us that
Mhm.
we believe to be the whole thing. But when you are reborn, you realize, oh, that's just a drop in the ocean. And when I say reborn, I mean when you just have a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you go deep into a meditation, or you have a psychedelic opening, through one of the many plant medicines that are out there, and
Yeah.
or have a near death experience where literally you feel yourself going to the other side, and then people come back and they're reborn, and they're repurpose and refocus themselves, and they have a identity, um, a renewal. So
Mm-hmm.
any of those ways will get you there, but the idea is to transform. And if you're into the zodiac, um, if you're the astrology of this moment, the astrology of everything that we've been through leading up to this moment, but this idea of Pluto moving into Aquarius right now, marking this
Mm.
beginning, the shift of outer planet, way outer planet energy. This is the energy of revolution. This is if you go back, this same energy was, a couple hundred years ago. We're talking, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. Like, this is that thing where the consciousness evolves, and we're in this messy in between time where we're not on the other side of it yet. We're just we're at the cusp of leaving. Pluto is literally leaving Capricorn, which is the material energy of, you know structure and rules and earth, and then we're moving into the age of air, which is Aquarius, which is information, the sign of it's electrical, it's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
yeah.
Energy.
So it's energy, and that's this is the big theme. When we identify as just the physical, the material, then we miss out on the subtler realms. But when we die before we die, we experience the subtler realms through
Yeah.
through practice, through plant medicine, through
Yeah.
near death experience, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Exactly, exactly. It's like lots of times we are scared of death because we think there isn't anything there and we are going to be lost and we are going to be forgotten, and or we forget ourselves, we lose ourselves. And the more you kind of go down into the deep dark holes, you find out there nothing like that exists. Like emptiness doesn't exist, nothing doesn't exist. There's like always something there. But also, like, okay, maybe let's touch upon. I can wait. I think the song is beautiful. So we'll listen.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll, yeah, I love it. And it's kind of like catchy. I'm like, I want to like chant it like like a mantra for.
So I won't stop you from that. I won't stop you from sharing it. I won't stop, you know.
Yeah, like on a loop, or make it like a big chorus. But also, okay, I want to ask you about this transition as you were talking about from the material into energy, because I do seem to sense it that, all of a sudden it's as if the way things appear, it's not going to be as, not going to have such a strong hold on us, but we're going to become more sensitive maybe to the way the energy feels like one another, like, energy of the people, that you're going to be able to read the energies more so than just words or these like material appearances.
Yeah, I mean, that's the evolution of consciousness that's underway. That, we don't have to be locked in. Well, in my estimation, one would not be wise to be locked into the old paradigms. One would be wise to be um, evolving, to be pushing the boundaries of what's possible and looking towards future paradigms, because this is a huge transformation underway, societal, personal, government, political, all of the above. Are everything's on the table now. And we may and technological,
Mm,
and there's competing energies. There's the energies of the powers that once were, that would love to continue to be, but will not. They will not be able to. It's just the energy shifting away, and the energy of the people, the masses, who are waking up and realizing, hey, there's more of us than there is them. And just because we always did something one way doesn't mean we will have to continue doing that forever. And so that is the rub, as it were. And like you get this sensation of having one foot on the platform and one foot in the train.
mm,
The train is going, and you know you don't really want to be in that. You got to get on the train. The train's moving. That's the future. It's happening. And
mhm,
then there's a whole bunch of people who have no interest in getting on that train and want to do everything to stop the train, but it's not in their power to do so. So that's why I say powers that once were, because this is bigger than any of us. This is an evolutionary, revolutionary time. Pluto leaving Capricorn, and it's literally this month. It's like on the 20th. And then it's going to go 9 months and be in Aquarius. It's going to dip back in September for a little retrograde, a little farewell, tip the hat, and then it's going to be in Aquarius for like the next 20 years. And
wow.
and
That's also scary though, right? Because we know that many revolutions happened during that time. And yeah, so
yes,
I don't know. I
yes,
hope that when we are talking about death and die before we die, we are not like, I don't know, bringing some kind of tragic event.
I'm just working with what we got to work with. It's like
That's true.
I know people who passed right away with the back in 2021, whatever it was that, I mean, I know people, I have friends who've moved on in this. I have friends who are about to move on. I probably know a bunch of people that, you know,
Yeah.
I just haven't heard about yet. Um,
Yeah, yeah. That's
so
true.
it's not like talking about it is making it's no, it's here. Like this
Mm,
is that energy, and frankly, in terms of evolution, like the things are speeding up. The vibration is shifting on the planet. And to be able to maintain a physical form on the planet, you have to be able to be compatible with that vibration. And if you're not, you're not. You're gonna say goodbye.
okay.
Because so
Yeah.
that's just and so it's just shifting from it's like the water becomes the ice, becomes the steam, becomes it doesn't it's still the water, it's just taking a different shape or a different form. So whether you're in physical form or pure
Mm,
consciousness of non-physical, the greatest part of us is non-physical. We enter the realm of earth, is it's earth school, where we can have these experiences and these lessons and these opportunities, to expand consciousness, to grow in spirit, to maintain a physical form but still be connected to spirit. Like this is the
yeah.
lesson. This is the high. This is master. This is what masters do. They they're in
Yeah.
physical form, but they're still connected to source. It's like when babies come in, they've got that light and that glow about them because the greatest part of them is their non-fit, their energy body. And
Mhm.
then as they grow in their physical form, that connection to source is it becomes dimmer and more difficult to see and access, until we ultimately, it's baked. Death is baked into the cake of life. right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
And like you sing, it's like make peace with it now and you will begin to live. And so I want to
you
talk
can't
about
live if you're in fear of death. Like how can you fully live if you're in fear of the inevitable? And it's just foolishness, because why be afraid of something that's like it's baked into the cake? I saw a t-shirt back I think it was like in 2021, 2020, 2021. It was great. I was in Mexico and the guy was wearing a shirt that said, "Spoiler alert, everybody dies."
yeah.
And at that time, like there was such hysteria around death and disease and that like it was almost like rude to, you know, say that. But I was thinking it the whole time, you
Yeah.
know, like, yeah, spoiler alert, make your
And the
peace with it.
question then becomes, do we live for? What do we want to leave behind, right? What are some principles that we are willing to even die for?
Well, that's a like principles. That's a great subject. What, you know, because there's a lot of you know, the discussion, the consciousness. If you're not thinking in big terms, it's easy to get caught up in whatever the moment is, and then principles go out the window. Like the media discussion wants you to just be in and now and now and now, but they never want to. That's why it's always like news McNuggets. They never want to give you the context, and that's why you know, platforms like podcasting and YouTube is so successful, and why mainstream news and mainstream
Mm.
media is irrelevant, basically. I mean, the only people watching that is my mom.
Yeah.
I
Older
literally
people.
think she's the only one who's still, her and her contemporaries, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
90, you still think that's news. But it's
Yeah.
not, but it's not. It's all propaganda. Like I don't care if it's the left or the right. It's propaganda because they're all who, you know, it's the mouthpiece of what, who owns them? Well, who owns the media? Well,
Yeah.
the big conglomerates like, you know, State Street or BlackRock or Goldman Sachs, you know, the big money. And
Which we
so
know.
whatever
But you know,
narrative.
they can start coming into the alternative, and they have been coming into the alternative media platforms a lot. And I'm sure, like, you know,
Yeah, but
once you have
everyone's
money,
got.
you'll find a way into people's lives, you
Oh
know.
yeah. So there's plenty of shills and trolls and bots all over, whether it's, you know, I mean that I told you I checked out, like I checked out.
Yeah, because that's how we influence and change the world. It's not just by fighting and speaking out, although that helps, but when you can actually like heal someone's trauma, not even knowing how, just by resonating your own frequency or by healing your own trauma, or like in this case, um, you know, these songs like your song and even this other one that I was talking about, Flowers in the Rain.
Oh right, okay.
it's it's such a powerful song, just like awakens the courage within you. And when you listen to the radio, I don't hear that kind of stuff anymore.
No,
You
no, no,
know, it's
no.
all like weak longing. And these songs, when you can sing like, you know, I look at him straight into his eyes and I said, I don't feel your hate or anger, no, neither do I fear your earthly might.
He walked into the room so silently and looked at him straight into the eyes. He said, I don't fear your hate or anger. and neither do I fear your earthly might. And we heard the sound of steel clashing, and the blood of a saint dripping from the soul.
When you hear it, it like subconsciously, you're like, yeah, what am I so afraid of? Like, I have courage. I have my life. I am, yeah.
100%. And that, that song you're talking about, there's a whole bunch of artists from the Kundalini community of back in the day. Guru Das, I believe, is the one who wrote that one, Flowers in the Rain. And he wrote a bunch of songs, and those early artists were having an experience with the practice, with the community, and they were writing about it. Him, Livtar Singh,
Krishna Kar,
Krishna
like
Kar.
walking up the mountain.
That's right. That's right. All those songs. One that I've been working with was by an actual um, musical artist, Donovan, who wrote the song "Happiness Runs," and they used that during tantric. Apparently, Donovan had run into the Kundalini community back in the day, and
Is he the 80s artist? I think I know.
no, Donovan was, Bob Dylan era 60s.
Oh,
Like I believe Irish folk singer, wrote Hurdy-Gurdy Man, Mellow Yellow,
oh,
um, Sunshine Superman, something like. He wrote many songs that I was resonant with and familiar with, but I wasn't familiar with that. And then one day I was sitting up in Tantric on the mountain, and it was like "Happiness Runs." Are you familiar with that?
no, I don't know about that. Wow, that's amazing. Happiness runs.
It, no, it's "Happiness runs in a circular motion.
Oh, yes,
Thought
yes.
is like a little boat upon the sea. Everybody is a part of everything anyway. You can have it all if you let yourself be."
Happiness runs in a circular motion. Thought is like a little boat upon the sea. Everybody is a part of everything anyway. You can have everything if you let yourself be. Happiness runs, happiness runs. Happiness runs, happiness
And it's the
runs.
kind of like a traditional folk melody where you could do a round. So you would finish it and then someone else would start it, and you'd have like three different harmonies going. But again, and then broader than that, you get into, the Beatles and George Harrison, and they went to India. They were hanging out at the ashram. They were absorbing, different sounds, different vibrations, different ideas. You had Ram Dass, right, who split off from the psychedelic Timothy Leary cult. But him and Timothy Leary were like that. I think they were all at Harvard together doing like research in the psychedelic realm. And then Ram Dass goes off and he connects with Krishna Das, and they're,
Yeah.
in the ashram there with Neem Karoli Baba. Again, in Rishikesh, same place the Beatles, just down the road from the Beatles ashram. So, and then all this comes back, and then you've got George Harrison really hitting it big with, My Sweet Lord, where they're literally chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
And so to me and then you're talking about today's music, well, many things killed rock and roll and killed today and brought us to this paucity of creativity that it's like it's oh God, how to say, it just got incredibly corporatized for a number of different reasons. And one of them was everybody's favorite president, Bill Clinton, signed in 1996 the sort of the legislation that enabled the consolidation of all the radio and media into like six. Oh,
Mm,
so there used to be individual
mm,
radio stations with individual people who programmed and they were the DJs. And back then, that could break an artist. If you were in the LA market and some DJ got hold of your song and started playing it and people liked it, boom. But when the corporatization of radio and media started happening there after that act was signed into law in 96, then that went away and it was all the radio stations all over the countries got bought up and consolidated. And then there was one dude in New York who was programming 100 different radio stations for
mm.
this group or that in all the different markets. So again,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
type of
So
thing.
yeah, you have to go out of mainstream even with music and just follow who you like, and yeah, and just hold on. That's kind of like my strategy. Like I'm holding on to whoever I like, whether it's music or books or and just following them no matter what is the mainstream, how many followers they have. It's like um if you see something good, just stick with it, right? No matter what, and get their information, get on their mailing list or whatever. That's my strategy,
I
and
mean, supporting independent artists and independent media has never been more important. I'm getting shivers as I say that.
Mhm.
But independent voices, you don't have to agree with everyone and everything, but just the fact that there are people who are talking about things that aren't allowed to be talked about on the major platforms is huge. Whether you're an artist singing a song or a Substack reporter breaking some news that will never make it into corporate media, that's huge.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
and that's what that and frankly, we pay attention. If you stop paying attention, stop watching, stop subscribing to, like, it's all propaganda now.
yeah, yeah,
Like even like if you go for entertainment and you're like, oh my God, like this Netflix show is just, I want to like it. But I can't like not see the psyop in it, or how they're like trying to subliminally, you know, get me on board with whatever narrative they're pushing.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
thing, and it's not. I'm not being conspiratorial when I say that. Like literally, thousands of Hollywood scripts have been submitted to the Pentagon
yeah. And
for
maybe even if they,
approval
mm,
to
mm,
get access to whatever production assets. So if you want to use a fighter jet in your movie, you could pay for it, or you could just let them review the script and make any alterations in the narrative that they want to, and then boom, you can use our fighter jet for your Top Gun series or whatever. As long as we approve the messaging that you're putting out, you can
yeah,
make a great looking movie with our high end gear.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They have to protect their brand. It's like anything else, right? You want to use a Apple in a computer, well, you have to get it approved. You can't just like use Apple in your movie because they have to protect their brand. Um, but well, this is interesting, yeah, because what do you do? What do you specifically do to kind of, whatever, whether it's a practice, or how do you stay authentic to yourself? How do you stay grounded and truthful? What do you practice? What do you connect with?
Breathe. Breathe deep and often, and just prioritize that time at the beginning of the day for a personal practice. has to be. And for me personally, that means, getting up as early as I can, getting to wherever I get into a good spot. Ideally, I'm out and there's sun shining on me, which is a
Mhm.
miracle, like in January, but I've been very lucky. Even if the air is cold, I like to let a little bit of that actual sunshine. I'm a vitamin D whore. Give me that sun, give me that sweet. There was this guy walking past me today. I was in a park, doing my yoga, and he's like, "Aren't you cold?" Because I'm like wearing my, I didn't change. I didn't change. I came straight from the park, and anyway, but yeah, just whatever practice you have, use it, whether it's just sitting and breathing and meditating, or if it's sun gazing, or if you're using mantra, or ideally all of the above, right? Like, so I use a physical practice where I get my breath of fire in. I've got some different, up dog, down dog, Sarabandanda Kriya, like a bunch of different stuff,
Mhm.
you know, really stretch out the hips and the shoulders, I do my bound lotus. I've got like an inner anger kriya that I do.
Mhm.
All the Kundalini peeps know what I'm talking about there. If you don't, find out, go see Zita and she'll hook you up. Or whoever's teaching near you, always I recommend that. I think it's a phenomenal practice, totally changed my life. So that's what I do. And then I chant for a little bit, various mantras, meditations, and then I pick up my guitar. And when we were talking beforehand, that's been extraordinary for me because just after everything since 2020 on, right, when the world started to shift and moan and quake and transform, when the transformation is like the music, making music, and like the songs just started coming, and good too, really good.
Mm, mm,
Like when we last spoke, I think I released the Time Is Now
mhm.
CD, and that was something that was like just a hurdle I had to get over because you know things had gotten really squirrely with that project. Things had gone sideways, and I was just trying to kind of like use my strength and effort to like, okay, I gotta I gotta knock this out,
Yeah.
because it had just taken up too much. It is something that should have taken, a year and a half, and it ended up taking like 4 or 5 years. It seemed like forever,
It
and
was a difficult period.
it was. But once that was complete, that had come full circle, then there was room to process the current stuff, the
Mhm.
stuff that was like going on, and that started to come out and then so
Yeah.
what we're talking about, this die, I call it Yogi's song, Die Before We Die.
Mhm.
And that song is part of was just the tip of what's been coming, and that is my practice. So then once the physical practice, the meditation's done, then I'll sit and I'll chant with the guitar, and then if the song wants to be written or needs to be written, then it comes out. Whatever emotions need transmuting, because I can't live with it. I have to channel it. It's energy. It
Mhm.
has to go somewhere. If it
Yeah.
especially if it's something frustrating or challenging, and when I'm sitting here watching uh, genocide and World War III unfold in real time, um, you know, like I've got something to say about it. Now I can go but as much as I've wanted to get online and talk about that,
Mhm.
um, and feel like, a moral obligation to say
Mhm.
something. You see something, say something. I also know that online is a shit show when it comes to talking about these things. And I feel like for me, creating art with depth and resonance, creating music with depth and resonance can even hit a little harder. And I go all the way back to, you know, what's his face? Dylan, Bob.
Mm.
And the little thing, a guy with a guitar, a little scrawny little dude in New York with his guitar wrote, how many roads must a man walk down?
Mm.
Oh, you call him a man. Still
He's
brings the
a
chills.
poet. Yeah.
But, at the time, and it's still resonant today. Like that song still lives on today. And it's an age-old question. We're in this age of war, the war of men, Kali Yuga. And like really still all these years we're still doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, well then maybe we need some new songs. Maybe we need
Yeah.
more songs. So
Yes, we do need more songs. We need whatever kind of songs want to come out, and all of them, all of that, you have, because as you said, since we are going into, or at least Pluto is going into air sign, um, and we are going to start feeling things on an energetic level more so, and the air is the conductor for the sound. So this is how the messages will be translated and how the emotions will be translated, right? From like one person to another. And we're hopefully going to start functioning more on that level, energetic level.
yeah, that's the future. That's and this is how we get there, and it's just
Yeah.
growing pains for humanity right now. And like it isn't what we thought it was. Like that's ego death, right? Can I admit that what I thought was real wasn't, or what I believed in maybe wasn't what I thought it was? That's like certainly when 2020 came around, I like I mean, the teachings were always everyone's going to lose their mind. Like that was always in the Kundalini lexicon.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come a time when everyone's going to lose their minds. It's going to come a time when people won't be able to meditate anymore. They won't. And like that was in the back of my mind. But until it was in front of my face,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
who knew, right? Who knew that things were going to go down the way they went down? And if that's any indicator of what is to follow, and it should be, because the forces and the energies behind that are still very much in power and in place. Those, but a lot of people have woken up. Like it wasn't just in my face, it was in everybody's face. And so we, as individuals, we as a community, we as the population, the culture around the world, all got a big heaping dose of reality in our face. Okay, this is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. So
And,
then, okay. So one more time, like, what do we hold on to when we meditate on death, when we meditate on transformation, when we are facing tragedy? What do we hold on to, right? Like,
I think it's as much as holding on. It's about letting go.
mm,
So one of the songs. Okay,
mm-hmm,
so one of the um, I'm giving up, letting go, all of my resistance, all of my resistance, all of my resistance
mm,
to the flow. So the flow is happening.
Whose
It's
song is it? Yours?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
as yet unpublished,
Coming up?
unreleased. But yes, that's in the you know, giving up, right? We don't think about giving up, right? We think about, no, I'm going to resist. I'm going to, what do we hold on to? Right.
Yeah.
But when working with energy, there's a beautiful martial art called Aikido, which is the way of the flow, right? The way, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't resist the attack head on. It
Mm-hmm.
receives the attack and moves the energy. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to attack me, you're out of alignment with source. If you really want to attack me, like whatever's
Mm-hmm.
brought you out of alignment is now manifesting as you're attacking me. So rather than like, I'm going to fight you, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fight you. No, okay, you want to attack me. I'm not going to be where you're coming because I know you're going to attack me. And then I'm going to receive your energy and I'm going to move it. I'm going to take control of that energy and guide it to
Mm-hmm.
a peaceful resolution, or as peaceful a resolution as we can
Mm.
make.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Love that. Yes, yes, yes. Like
So
trusting the energy too, and then moving it.
well, if you're in connection with source, then you're in your center. So it's a lot harder to throw somebody off balance who's in their center. So everything, this whole whirlwind of challenges that have been like putting us all into survival mode and throwing everyone off bat, like that's by design, pitting people against each other, getting people to fight about this, Democrat,
Yeah, yeah,
Republican,
yeah.
like
Oh my gosh.
okay, like that's they're like two sock puppets, and there's like somebody up here playing the sock puppets, and you know I heard a great analogy. They throw that word democracy around, but it's like democracy is the toy steering wheel that you give your child in the car while you drive. So everyone's like, democracy. It's like, no, come on, man. Like, take a look. There's somebody else driving the car, and it's not you or me. Okay, because you keep voting for this side or that side, but what keeps happening? The same thing, right? It did
Yeah, yeah.
never, and even the Pauls themselves, the politicians themselves will give up the game. And you'll have a Republican say, "Yeah, Bill Clinton was the best thing that ever happened for the Republicans because he got, it's just he did it with a kinder, gentler social agenda where people were like, oh, Bill Clinton, whatever. Like, but he did the same shady stuff the Republicans, that George Bush would have done. He just
Yeah, yeah.
he got away with it because people thought, oh, he's for women's rights and abortion. It's like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
these people are not dumb. They're
yeah.
highly intelligent, and they're using all, and now it's like super, it's on steroids because they've weaponized the technology. So
Mm.
the surveillance state is upon us, and that's the dark side of Pluto in Aquarius, right? Is like, what is this AI thing that's that's now circulating, and reading and
Yeah, listening,
observing everything,
observing,
listening and
watching. Yeah,
observing,
yeah, yeah,
watching everything and
yeah.
everyone everywhere.
My only hope with the AI is that I think it's not gonna stay very smart. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be very intelligent. People say it's intelligence, but it's not intelligence. It's like dumbness. So if we just yeah, I don't think it's always going to be like hiccuping and glitching and saying silly stuff. And it's not going to have the resonance because we are going to start communicating on a level of ether, on a level of air, through the emotions, through the vibrations, instead of the words per se. you know?
Well, there's, I mean, so this idea artificial intelligence. How about divine intelligence? How about
Yeah.
supreme consciousness? How about tuned in, tapped in, turned on to our own light, like plugged in. You plug into your connection to the energy and let that flow through your light body, and like that's unstoppable, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what we're after, and we all should have access to this, and whatever technologies are there and available, like the technologies to liberate humanity, not enslave it. Like it's just a matter of time before you know energy is free,
Hmm.
right? And there that technology exists, it's just not available because there's certain powerful interests at this moment that don't want it available because their power is based on the old paradigm of exploitation. And
Hmm.
what the ideal moving forward is the is empowerment, not exploitation, right? You want to empower people to transform themselves in their own lives, in their own world through access to the technology, whether it's spiritual technology and yoga and meditation. To just like, we don't need to fucking take pharmaceuticals, right? Like that industry is born of the industry, post World War II. Like, how can we use oil, right? It's all based on the chemistry, right?
Yeah, the chemistry of the World War II. Yes, yes, yes.
The organic chemistry that came out of World War II, and the access and the use of oil and all that. So, and that took over the medical system, right? Before that, people used natural remedies, plant-based. There was all kinds of different modalities that were real and available and in use at the time. And then the modern medical system, while it's got some genuine um,
Yeah.
miracles and such, it also has a real dark side to it. But it was put into place by Rockefeller.
Hmm.
It was oil money, and basically he bought up the medical schools, and he wanted it to be pharma based, and he partnered with these pharma companies, some of whom have dubious past connected to certain regimes out of World War II, right? Like Bayer,
Yeah.
Bayer, they were definitely associated with the Third Reich and
Hmm.
and other companies, but they partnered and they took over the modern medicine, and they pushed anyone that was not on board with the pharma agenda. They just bought it up, and so all the medical schools, all the hospitals, all the were now based on pharma because he owned the oil, and it was all made from oil. It was all the organic chemistry, and they could profit off it. They don't want you know like, what was someone I was just seeing, Naomi Wolf. She was talking about like guava leaves, like the medicine of guava leaves, like making a tea from guava leaves, and like it's got really powerful anti-cancer agents and stuff like that. But there will never be a study confirming that because there's no patent to be had on it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. And the thing with it's kind of it's a little bit sad that the only thing that we now rely on when we get sick is some kind of a pill, but that was maybe like 1/10 of a healing processes for millennia, right? Like taking something in to cure you, where instead cures were in all kinds of forms before that. It wasn't just taking something in, whether it's organic or inorganic, but there was healing through through maybe like bathing. People had that, or healing through shamanism, healing through energy levels, healing through acupuncture, right? Like, and all of a sudden there's just like, no, this is just one way of healing, and we're just going to look at this one way of healing. And so that's completely imbalancing.
Well, and it's ridiculous. I mean, the number one thing that you can do is recognize food as medicine.
Yeah.
And the one thing that they don't teach, in medical school is nutrition. And like anytime I'm feeling like I'm run down, or like I immediately go for, garlic. I immediately go for, um,
Me too.
herbal teas, or maybe my body's asking for beets, or maybe my body's asking for spinach, or like this is something, and just good organic food that hasn't been laden with harmful chemistry. um
Yeah.
citrus is a great way. Celery juice, like, there you go. If you're looking to detox, wild blueberries are, in combination with like cilantro and the sea kelp, you know
Hmm.
spirulina, all that has wonderful, powerful medicinal properties. And if you just start listening to your body, start doing a little bit of homework and research, finding out, they talk about apricot seeds, um,
Hmm.
having, anti-cancer properties,
Hmm.
so much. But again, there's no patent on organic food, right? Like, so that there's no profit motive, to
Yeah.
tell people about it, right? Like, and it's really, it's disgusting, it's revolting, and
Yeah. Is Die Before You Die a single, or is
yeah,
it
it's
an
a single.
album?
It's a
Because you
single.
mentioned few songs that you have coming up.
Yeah, so they take time in their evolution. In other words, like, there's the writing of it, and then there's like, okay, how are we going to produce this?
Mm.
How is this gonna? And in the old days, in the before times, like, this is real. So I would work with a producer, and I would pay them, and we would produce a song. Well, so fast forward to now, it's like, that's not really an option, right? Like, I don't, like, music is essentially free. If you go and you listen to, like, maybe you watch a 5-second ad on YouTube, or you pay for your Spotify subscription, but what goes to the artist is like percentages, 0.003 cents a spin on Spotify or something. It's like, and YouTube is maybe a little better, and Apple's maybe a little better, or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, music is essentially free. So there's no production budget, like, even to like hire a drummer, right? Like, it's just not a thing. But
Mm.
what it's done, though, is it's made me just a lot more resourceful and a lot more focused on producing my own music, being my own producer. And I've been working with a friend of mine from way back, once upon a time, um, who I grew up with, and he's got a studio here in LA, and so for the mastering, he's the one who recorded the Die Before You Die track, and we're working together on the next release, which is called Energy, Frequency, Vibration, which is the
Ooh.
quote, based on the quote from Nikolai Tesla, who said, if you want to understand the world, you need to think in terms of
Mm.
energy, frequency, and vibration. And that is completely in alignment with moving from the age of Capricorn into the age of Aquarius, which is the air sign, which
Mm.
conducts the electricity, and speaks to this evolution in consciousness, which is, you know humanity's destiny, right? That's what we're all here for. This is the main event. We're not just sitting here eating popcorn. We're creating it with our consciousness. So when you say what can each of us do, well, every time we go into that meditative space, every time we connect with source, we carry that light out into the world, and that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we create together, and we can see the light in each other, right? If we're mired in the old vibration of feuding and war, if we're at war with ourselves, people who are, cheerleading for World War III right now, they're at war with themselves, right? If you want to create peace, it starts inside of you. It starts in your heart. You have to first, in your heart, want that peace and
Yes.
and do the work, do the spiritual work to find that peace within yourself, so we can create it together, right? Like, it's all of us. We're all connected. There is no separation, and that goes right back into the what do we call them for the Aquarian Age? The 5 um
Sutras.
Sutras. That's right, for the Aquarian Age. So number one, recognize the other. I don't. I'm going to mix up the order, but
Yeah, let's
recognize
try if we
between the
can.
two of us, we're going to get this. Recognize the other person as you, right? Can you see yourself in the other person, even if they're the demon Trump? Right? Can you see yourself? Can you recognize the other person as you? Like, that's a big, because like I noticed in the yoga community, right? Like, everybody, we're just left coast liberals, or, right? And so, like, there was this whole, right, that, what, no, it's like, come on. He's just a human being.
Yes.
These people, these people that disagree with you are not all white supremacists. They have different ideas,
Yes.
but there's a role of politics is to divide and conquer, right? That's the old. So that sutra, that's a biggie. Recognize the other person as you, especially.
I used to have it here on the wall, all 5 sutras, and then I took it down. But yes,
especially if you disagree with them, right?
Yes.
That's why Ram Dass said, right? You remember Ram Dass?
Yes.
Yeah, he said, one of the things I loved that he said was, if you think you're spiritually evolved, go spend a week with your family.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Recognize the other person as you. So, like, whatever immediately all the old they're pushing your buttons because they installed them, right? And you're pushing theirs because you installed theirs too, right? Like, it. So
this is pretty important. Yes, exactly. Especially the ones you think they are evil or harmful, but that exists because that is what people will resonate with also. So, and it is in all of us. Yeah.
Contrast. It's the duality of time space, right? Like, this is metaphysics 101, right? Time space, there's duality there. If I pick up the coin, right, there's the A side, there's the B side. It's the same coin, right? The heads and the tails exist together. They don't exist without each other. There has to be heads for there to be tails. There has to be dark for there to be light. And that's the yin yang. That's just who and what and how we need to deal with this.
Yeah. And actually, that's what who was this? Russell, what's his name?
Brand?
No. This is a author. He died. I have a book over there. His name is Russell. No, but anyway, he was studying chemistry, and he said that actually there is no movement without duality. That the duality is the movement. That is what, once things are in peace, the duality stops. It's like an electric charge just kind of dies, and there's no movement, there's death. That's what happens to you. Like, that duality stops even in like the body. It's really interesting. So yeah, that is, the duality supports life.
It's the physics of, where does the wind blow? It blows when you've got the cold and the warm air colliding, and then you get your tornadoes, right? You get the warm air coming up out of
Yeah, a good one. Yes, yes, yes.
get the warm air coming up out of the south, and then it meets this cold front coming through, and that edge. And there are even places that are there that are like known as Tornado Alley, like through Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. In the south, you've got it's Tornado Alley because the jet stream comes down, the warm air comes up from the Gulf, and where it meets is where those lines of storms just march through, and it's a whole lot of energy. It's incredibly powerful.
And the Kundalini energy, right? We have Ida and Pingala, and it goes up, and they support one another.
That's right.
And that's when we feel alive, when that flow is going. It's
Right. And it's all about opening. So you say, what would you do? You open. You open yourself. You open physically. You open mentally. You open emotionally. You open with the breath. You open with your heart. You open with your mind. And you let that energy flow and connect to source. And that's just the essence of practice, and any practice, whether it's Tai Chi or Kundalini yoga or dance or painting or music, like without being open, the ideas, the minute you shut down your heart, the minute you shut down your mind, then the ideas, the energy stops flowing, and there has to be that open. And economics, commerce, culture, all these things have to, that's where we're at. And the block now is there are those, the powers that once were want to control everything and everyone. They want to control what you're allowed to say, where you're allowed to say it, what you're allowed to think, how you're allowed to think it, how you spend your money, what money you spend, and they want to know where you spent it and who you spend it with, like absolute complete control. That's the technocracy. That's the dark side of the Pluto in Aquarius. That's the AI. That's what we're moving in. And then there's the rest of the world who are like, I don't think that's such a good idea. In fact,
your actions have consequences. Hello. Don't forget, right? Like you can't just like do something without paying for the consequences of whatever you're creating.
Well, yeah. So, but that's the rub right now is, the maintaining the ability to think freely, to converse freely, to have duality, not to have a monolithic, not to be dictated, not something top down. And that's been, the monarchy, right? The last revolution was the king has a divine right to rule, right? That was, so the last time this astrological transit happened, Pluto in Aquarius, hundreds of years ago, French Revolution, American Revolution, the King of England wanted to control the colonies, right? And the Americans said, well, not so much. We kind of like to, and the French said the same thing. They said, not so much. We're all created equal. This idea of all created equal, right? The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, these documents, codify these ideas. All men are created equal. Prior to that, that was never a basis for a government. It was always the king had the divine right to rule, and you better do what he say, right? And so again, we're that old energy hasn't gone away. Colonial power is still hard at work, and we're literally like they want it, they can taste it. I don't know where or how it's going to play out, but it's the same energy of colonialism, which is basically, oh, we love those oil and gas deposits you have over there. Did you know Did you know there's $500 billion of oil and gas in Gaza? Did you know
Mm.
that?
Oh,
What?
oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That
I'm
one's
not paying attention to that. Yeah.
but if you pay attention, all the wars in the Middle East, World War
Mm,
One, World War Two, when they brought in these wars and
yeah.
they set up shop right there in the Middle East, they set up that country right there. It
Yeah.
was it was to control the resources, and which is what all the colonial powers of Europe
Mm,
always did. Going back to the Belgian Congo, they wanted trees because
mm.
rubber was this, so they were willing to go in there and
Yeah.
kill people and maim people to control that. And that whole, that
Wars
conscious.
forever were about resources. Wars were never about spirituality. It was never about religion. It was
That's right.
always, always about taking resources from someone because we needed. We ran out of resources. So let's go and attack that person, but let's cover it up under, oh,
In the name of,
those Saracens, those bad people over there, they don't like democracies, or they are Muslims. Let's go. It was always like that. It's ridiculous. But anyway.
but it comes right back to recognize the other person as you. Like,
Yes.
would you
Don't
want
get
to
trapped.
experience?
Yes,
Would
exactly.
you,
Don't get
would you
trapped in people telling you that these people are evil. They are just as you, whatever
humans
side
we
of.
all put our pants on, like however we do it, one leg at a time, and we bleed red, and our blood,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
blood that's in you is in me. And so again, so that's a huge theme
yeah.
for
Do you
me.
remember another sutra?
Yes, of course. So that's it. So just to say, that's a theme that's coming up in the songs that I've been
Mhm.
writing. But yeah, next sutra, I would, there's a way through every block, which is, I mean, that's something, um, yeah, somehow, some way, like whatever. That's big because a lot of times we get into this state of mind where we believe we're given the binary choice. We're given, well, it's either going to be this or this. Like, it's either you can vote for them or you can vote for them. And it's like, wait a minute. I don't like either of them. I don't agree with either of them. In fact, you're controlling both of them. I'm not voting for any of them. But this idea of there's and it's like, maybe not. Maybe there's a third way that we just haven't thought of yet. So for me, like, I'm always teaching and talking about creativity and how it relates to because Kundalini energy is creative life force, right? That's something that our sexuality, our spirituality, our creativity, our consciousness are all linked. When we talk about moving energy, we're talking about life force, chi, prana, kundalini. Okay. And so when we're given this either or scenario, I call bullshit on that. I say, no, there's always going to be another way. And there is a way through it. So if it seems stuck, what do you do? Well, in the Kundalini tradition, there's a great mantra for that. Ad such, jugat such, hebe such,
Yes.
sube such. And that's a go-to mantra for me. I actually recorded that back in the day. And I still, like, if I'm stuck in traffic, I'm like, maybe I'll put on that Removing Obstacles CD and see what I can, see if I can move the traffic with my mind or whatever.
Yeah, I use it too, not with traffic, but whenever I feel stuck in whatever situation and I
Yeah.
don't know, yeah, how to get out. Uh, Another sutra? Do you remember?
Vibrate the cosmos, and the cosmos will clear the path. Now, this one, like, one of the things I do in my practice every day is I straight up chant Om, Om, and I get the conch vibrating, the sinus passages. There's like
Mhm.
they're in a conch shape, and there's real resonance. You can feel it physically when you chant that, and you're chanting from your navel, connecting up your spine into your conch, and you get that not om but ong, and you get that ng on there, and you really set up that resonant frequency. And I for me, that's what that sutra embodies. That, vibrate the cosmos, and the cosmos will clear the path. So you get that om going, and you get some clarity, and it kind of shakes off,
Yeah.
whatever.
I love it too. I love this one. And it goes along with that moving through every block. That's a good way also to get through block. And Ong is a creative mantra in itself. Like it's just chanting creativity. So
Yeah. So vibrate the cosmos. That's the other person is you. Your turn.
Yes. When the time is on you, start, and the pressure will be off.
Yeah.
That used to be my favorite because that is something I resonated with. You know, because I'm very familiar with that feeling of when I'm not doing what I should be doing, I feel this pressure, right? Like, oh, you should be doing that. You should be going there. Or like, because I used to be a very shy person and kind of like holding the words back. Oh my gosh, that pressure was sometimes uh, very hard to hold on within you, right? And it just says start, just start. And then the pressure will be off. And it's very good for any creative person, right? Like, where do I start? How do I start? Just start, whatever.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, that's very powerful. Yeah, and people talk about writer's block, or or again, just feeling stuck or blocked in any way. Well, sometimes you just gotta move. Like, so in physics they say objects at rest tend to stay at rest. Objects in motion will continue in motion. So you just need to be really conscious of that. Like, the more sedentary you are, the if you're like, if you maybe you skipped a day in your practice, and you skipped another, in fact, then now you skipped a week, so there's becomes an inertia. It gets that much harder to get back into your creative space, into your practice, if you had to skip, to the point where you could wake up and a month has gone by or a year has gone by, like, and you're wondering, why is my life off the rails or whatever, and you get stuck in a way where, if you constantly coming back to source, plugging yourself in, recharging, regenerating, then that willpower, that strength, that vibration of start, being able to start, right? If you know how to plug in, you know where to go, right? And you're sensitive and self-aware enough to energy to recognize, oh, hey, like, okay, I've hit my wall today, time to power down, get back to it. Power down, and then restart, pick it up again in the morning. Because, like, a lot of times we'll try to push through things that we can't. But if we come back, if we rest and we start fresh, it's just so much easier in the morning, right? Like, it's so much easier. And so that's just a trick that I would always use. If something isn't working, or then get your rest, return focused, and come back, and it will work for you. But
it has to do with being able to tune into yourself and read yourself, right? Like, oh, like, I'm getting stuck over here, let me fix it,
right.
And then there is
Oh, good, you've got them pulled up.
I have it. Yes. Understand through compassion, or you will misunderstand the times.
Ain't that the truth?
That's the big one. Yes, it should be the overarching one.
And I want to say, yeah. So, and give yourself a big helping dose of that compassion. Like we need to be
Mm-hmm.
compassionate with ourselves, because it all starts with us. Like it starts and ends with us. But if we can be compassionate with ourselves, then we can find that space to be compassionate for others.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
if you're like holding yourself to some crazy standard, like where you're like cruel, literally can be cruel to yourself, maybe because that's what you were taught or that's what you experienced. Like people were cruel to you and they taught you to be cruel to yourself. And then, well, you know what? You're going to pass that along to the next, being that you come into contact with. And that's no way to live. That's no fun.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants nobody wants to be that person. Nobody wants to experience that level of cruelty and lack of humanity.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't realize that every emotion you have, whether it's good or bad, you're also affected by it, right? You are affected by the anger. You are affected by whatever you're feeling for someone else. That lack of compassion, you are affected by it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's probably like, I'm not sure what the quote is, but something to the effect of like, yeah, what is it like? Anger is a poison that only, it's toxic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like anger is toxic.
Yeah.
And if you're holding that and like holding on to anything resembling anger or resentment or animosity, like I can't even fathom that, because it's toxic emotionally, it's toxic physically, it's toxic mentally, it's toxic spiritually. Like trying
Yeah.
to hang on to that, it, oh God.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't fathom it because like I'm always looking for peace within myself so that I can, like, that's my job, that's my role as a human on planet Earth right now. Like I chose to, and we chose to incarnate right here right now. Why? Because we're light workers, we're light beings. This is our mission, is to evolve ourselves, but also to evolve connected to
Yeah.
humanity, to help. Team humanity is going through it right now,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
beyond,
The
and that,
birthing pains.
yeah, no, team humanity is going through it. And when you recognize the other person as you, or understand through compassion, right? That's the same. It's like flip, same, those two are really connected, right? Recognize the other person as you. Well,
Yeah.
if you understand through compassion,
Yeah.
at this point, like we all need to give each other the benefit of the doubt, right? And we need to call ourselves out, and we need to call each other out, but we also need to give each other the benefit of the doubt because we're all going through it like that. So
Yeah.
like that thing that happened, in 2020, where everyone was divided and, like telling everybody what to do and how to do it and what they should be allowed to do, like that was by design. That was what we call a psyop, a
Yeah.
psychological operation. That's the war, right? That's the spiritual warfare, like the weaponization of, um, consciousness, the weaponization of information, the weaponization of ideas, to divide and conquer, right?
Yeah.
Like if people come together and realize, way, hey, we've all got way more, like if the people around the world all recognize, hey, we've got way more in common with each other than we do with the leaders of my country and the leaders of your country. Like that's, see,
Mm-hmm.
that's the powers that once were worst nightmare, is that people unite and realize that they have more in common than they do, that divides, that separates them. And all the messaging through the media is that, well, now it's who's been, so the axis of evil, the people that are being demonized, right? Now, you know, everything's going to be, it was the Russians for a while, right? Now
Yeah, yeah,
it's going to be the Iranians, right? It's the Iranians that are up. And like, I'm not going to say that there aren't things in very every the, the boogeyman serves a purpose, right? My whole life there's been a boogie, right? And you, like you're saying, that there's always a pretext for it, like they're bad because there's like maybe it's a religious pretext that you're trained to hate these people because of blah blah blah, whether it's the Christians, the Muslims, the
yeah.
Jews, the Chinese, the Japanese, like the other, right? You're otherizing of people, and all the spiritual teaching is around breaking down those barriers and recognizing the commonality of humans, and that's what all these sutras really ultimately are about, is connecting with source and connecting with each other and recognizing, see, or what's the great catchphrase, right? If you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. Yet
Mm.
all these wars that are being waged about God, and they're godless, and our God says blah blah blah, and even within the groups, like
Yeah,
um, there's fighting even within the Kundalini groups. There's fighting, right? Like, oh well, no, we're the true ones. No, we're the true. Like, shut up, stop,
yeah.
everybody, please give it a fucking rest. We're not gonna get there this way, right? Like, we
Yeah,
really have to all get over ourselves uh,
yeah,
on a deep, on a deep personal level, and die before we die. Let's have a little ego death. Let it go, right?
yeah,
Everybody, right?
yeah.
All together now. Let's all die before we die, and then we can live before we go. Because we've got a lot.
Beautiful. That
We've got a lot to do here. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot of
yes.
wonderful, amazing things to do, and
And another word that's coming up is forgive, right? Whether it's forgive politicians, forgive others, that's what comes with compassion. Like, you can have compassion and you can forgive because of this compassion, because you understand, life on earth is not easy. We do have to fight for resources. For some reason, we have this structure built where we have to compete for things, and so people take it to the next level, and it is how it is now. And
agreed. We must forgive ourselves and forgive each other. And the, this time is to evolve past that, past it's got hardwired in somewhere along the line that we had to fight and had to compete, this war paradigm. But I think that's the work of the next 100 years, to the next century, this coming time, and then we're paving the way for those who will come, and eventually humanity will get past the need, because when you're connected to source, you realize there's infinite energy, infinite possibilities, infinite ideas, infinite opportunities for all beings everywhere. Like it's not, when you're infinite, you're infinite. It's
Yeah.
infinity. It's just when we come into this realm, we experience the finite, we experience limitation, we experience duality, we experience lack as well as abundance. And somehow, it's been,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
hardwired into us that we need to fight each other and ourselves. And that serves somebody, but not necessarily humanity. It doesn't necessarily serve us, because if we tune into source, then we realize that it's all there. Everything that we need and want and desire is all, it's all there. It's all available. We just need to allow. And that means allowing it for others too, and recognizing that there is no there is no
Other.
there is no other, right? Exactly, right. There's nothing outside of ourselves. That in this experience, we're experiencing this idea of separation and limitation, but it's just the illusion, the Maya of this world, the duality, and that the supreme reality is that we're all connected through source. That like each of us is a channel or a vehicle for the divine, in this
Hmm.
world to this is the divine working it out in real time through each of us. We're all vessels and vehicles for the divine. And then when we do leave our body, when we do leave this realm, we go back, and everything that we experienced here gets shared back into the infinite.
Hmm.
That's how the divine keeps
Hmm.
being divine. It's this expansion and this wonderful web of life, the Satanama, right? Life, birth, death, rebirth,
Yeah. Yeah.
over
Yeah.
and over and over and over and over and over again. And so we can just kind of bliss out in that space, and share that light. You know, that's the work. That's
All right. Yeah,
maintaining.
exactly. So, okay, the song is coming out. Where can people, how should they search it? How should they find it? Just go.
Well, if you wherever you stream or dream your music, you will find it. It's just, globally distributed, so it'll be, on Spotify, on iTunes, on YouTube, on the 30th. The song it's called Yogi's Song, Die Before You Die, or
By Harnam.
Die Before We Die. My name is Harnam, and it's just born of the experience. It's born of the moment. It's fresh. It's refreshingly underproduced. I think a lot of working with producers along the way has kind of made me value just the simplicity and essence of a song,
Mm.
and the importance and the power of a song can, it can move mountains. It can be really meaningful, and that's just the feedback I've gotten from people over the years. Every now and then I'll hear from someone who was touched by something I've written, and they'll like, it got me through that time,
Mhm.
whatever that time was in their lives, that something about that song meant enough to them that it was able to help them get through. And we're going through it, and everything that I'm, you know, that's coming through me, that I'm able to put out in this way, is for everyone. It's for everyone to, like, if it resonates, it's real, and use it, enjoy it. But yeah, it'll be everywhere. You can find a preview probably at my website. I am Harnam, so IAMHARNAM. We can put that in the link somewhere. Um,
Mhm.
.com, and it'll be all. I'll be back into the social media here in a little bit. once we start sharing this, I'm sure I'll be sharing it, and you know, sharing clips. There's videos. There's going to be a lyric video. There's going to be a official video, which is kind of cool. And
Oh yeah.
then, yeah. So I was able to put together some good visuals for it. I'm a visual artist too. I don't
Yeah.
like. I don't know. We didn't even really talk about that, but I've
Mm.
been, you know, making paintings during this time the last few years, a lot of paintings, because that's how I started on my painting and music, and then eventually yoga and
Mhm.
meditation. But yeah, so it'll be everywhere. I'll be back around. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, um, Facebook, of course, and you know, and then there's just stay tuned, because energy, frequency, vibration, we're finishing that up, getting ready to release that, and that's good. I like that because it goes into oh, look at that. You know, it's just I it's about making connect. Like this year is going to be really big for making connections, broadening from, you know, not only within the Kundalini community, like reconnecting and recalibrating and I feel that happening, right? And then, but also just broader spiritual communities, whether it's the astrological community, the, you know, the broader yoga community, the bhakti community, so many different spiritual traditions. And really that's, like the juice and the engine that fuels it all going forward. I think that these notions of, you know, division and like ain't nobody got time for that now, right? Like stop,
Exactly.
stop. Let's come together, like-minded beings, like team humanity.
Yeah,
Everything
ain't
else,
nobody got
everything
time for
else is
that.
a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's just like figure out how we can live together.
Yeah, yeah, and it's no joke. And like I was really torn up when back in 2020 when I and it's still going on. Like there's I'm not paying attention. I'm not online much, but I still see, you know, people who will just they just will never let they're having trouble letting go of the things that divide us. Like they've built identities around the divisions, and you know, like it,
Yeah.
it's tough. And whether it's in, you know, like the Kundalini community, or whether it's in, you know, just the political arena, oh my God, it's an election year, you know, shoot me now. Right. Like,
I'm checking out already. I already checked out.
right. But at the same time, like there's still, you know, what are the new pathways that are created? Like that again, the powers that once were, they're gonna cling to it till death do us part, right? Like they have, like they're in this, and they're lifers on this. That's their vibration, and that's there's no changing those minds. But there is building new connections and platforms and ways to connect people, team humanity here, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, ultimately we, you know, who do we serve? What is the system? Is the system serving us, or is the system enslaving us? Is the system, are you being fed? Are you being treated equitably by the system, or is the system demanding more from you than it's returning? Is it, you know, and that you know, we're going to see the changes in the money system. That's going to be huge, because the money and the food and the medicine, right? These are all choke points. These are all ways to control. These are all things that are going to be big in the coming years. But like 2024, for sure, we're going to see, you
Mm,
know, issues surrounding this. And then
mm,
just, you know, what are you allowed to say? What are you allowed to think? all this. So it's up to each of us to be strong in our practice, to be
and to
strong
connect with one another, right? And
building the
sorry.
community. Like, yes, 100%, like that, making those, like just talking to you now is like that first step for me coming back in, like, okay, we're getting back online, let's talk to Zita, because we've got things to talk about. There's things to talk about,
Yeah.
and hopefully, the society and the communities are gonna continue to reconnect and reopen and get back. We're still a long ways off of where we were in 2019, right? Like 2019, remember the before times? Like we were
Yeah.
going places, like now it's just kind of like we're just picking up the pieces. I mean, I don't want to say just, I'm just personally, it's been, it's just like I got chopped off at the knees, like I was
Mm.
exposed, you know, when everything went down. And it's like this is beautiful though, because like, okay, I'm still here. And I'm not only am I still here, but I'm stronger than ever, and I have more to share than ever. And I've really had to my offering has been really tailored and focused and born in the crucible of the last few years.
Hmm.
Here we are, we're able to, we're in January here, and we're releasing Die Before We Die.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
A
like you have
song for
like,
yogis, song for
yeah,
yogis.
yeah. And it's kind of like what you've done. You went quiet, you went down, 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 so you can come
Yeah,
back,
the
rebirth.
rebirth. So
Yeah.
we're in this time of rebirth here, and again, the 20th, look for it. Feel the energy shift, because Pluto, and Pluto is what, the lord of the underworld, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Pluto deals with death and destruction and rebirth, right?
Yeah.
And so this is big. This is really, really big. But I assure you, as awesome as this is, it's just gonna be challenging in so many ways. Like as amazing as things are, and hopeful as they get, it's gonna go back and forth here for a while. Like really, you know,
Yeah.
it's it's exciting time to be alive. It's very
Yeah.
exciting time to be alive.
Well, thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
fun talking together. Yeah, talking to you, learning from you. We went through the sutras. We
I
went
love it.
through
I'm
the
glad. I'm glad
astro.
we ended up on the sutras. The sutras is, yeah, a really beautiful place to end up, because
Yeah.
those are just boiled down. Those are, you took five and boiled them down from many. But
Mm-hmm.
these were for now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For
And there
now,
for now. Yes. Yes. Exactly. For right
right
now.
now.
Yes.
So it's a very good, timely conversation. They are
Yes.
for now. They're
Yeah.
not for anybody else. They're for you right now. They're for all of us right now. Um,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you can get if you can get on board with the sutras, we're all going to be just fine, I think,
Yeah.
because there's just timeless wisdom in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, you can find Harnam on iamharnam.com. Find the music. What's the date when it's coming out?
The 30th,
The 30th,
if I
yes,
look
of
at it,
January
that's right,
2024. Just in case
2024.
someone is looking at it or listening to it later on. So it might
That's
be out.
right. Let me just confirm that. It's yes. So it's Tuesday, January 30th, and
Okay.
it'll at midnight on the East Coast. It'll be live and spinning, streaming and dreaming wherever you get your music. It'll be on the YouTube. It'll be everywhere. And
Perfect.
thank you, Zita.
Thank you. Thank you, Harnam.
Before we die, and live before we go. Tune into your heart to find the soul.
one.